here in the deposition of Jeff Niemeyer. The time is now 11:24 a.m. We are on record.
Okay, do we mark that as Exhibit 2? So make sure. I think I handed it to you.
I don't think
Yes.
so. Oh, did we?
Okay.
Well, that's what it says.
Turn with me to Exhibit 13, please.
We found the missing first 2 pages of Exhibit 14.
There it is. Okay, do you recognize this, Jeff?
Yeah, it appears to be our purchase agreement with the Colonia 1.
Please explain to me the circumstances surrounding the execution of this agreement.
I'm going to object. It's pretty vague.
Okay.
No.
When did you first see this agreement?
Probably, I don't know the exact date, but before the 26th, actually quite a. So I don't have a specific recollection of when I first saw it.
Okay. Did you participate in the drafting of this agreement for things such as purchase price and identifying the property, things like that?
No, it was prepared by our legal counsel, and we reviewed it.
You reviewed it?
Yes.
Okay. You understood that this was a combination of 2 documents, as the title indicates, a real estate purchase and sale contract and limited power of attorney?
Yes.
Did you understand that the purpose of this was to enter into a purchase contract with Colonia Mining 1 for purposes of buying the subject property of this lawsuit?
Yes.
Okay. As well as to vest Salt Lake City with power of attorney to act for Colonia Mining 1? Is that right?
Yes.
And this purchase price we see on paragraph 1, $480,000, that ties to the same appraisal we've looked at today, correct?
It's the same value, yes.
Well, I know it's the same value, but I want to understand, is it based on the appraised value, or was there a new appraisal or a new basis for this number?
It was based on that appraisal.
Okay. Did the directors tell you what they would do with this money?
They did not.
Is it your understanding that Salt Lake City only has the obligation to buy the property if title is cleared in the lawsuit?
I think the paragraph basically says that the Colonia 1 needs to be successful in the lawsuit. And
In order for Salt Lake City to have an obligation to buy the property?
yes.
Okay. Look at paragraph 4. It's on page 2. It reads, so long as this agreement is in effect, buyers shall timely pay those property taxes on the claims as they come due, provided, however, that all property taxes paid by buyer shall be deducted from the purchase price. Did Salt Lake City pay the property taxes for 2014 on this property?
No.
Why not?
Because the tax notice was continuing to be hijacked by Colonial 2.
Did Salt Lake City make any effort to get those tax notices directed to Salt Lake City?
No,
Why not?
because we would wait for the outcome of this lawsuit.
Okay. So do you believe that Salt Lake City is in breach of this obligation?
No,
Why is that?
because the taxes were never presented to Colonial One. Had they received the tax notice presented to us, we would have paid it. But instead, Colonial Two continued to direct it, and they voluntarily paid the taxes. And so they continued to slander the title.
So you were made aware in times earlier, and I don't know the exact year, of a or multiple tax sales, correct?
Correct?
And you know that tax sales happen only when taxes are delinquent on a given piece of property, correct?
Correct.
Why didn't you direct the taxes to be paid at any time prior to the commitment made in this exhibit?
I don't know. Why would I?
Well, I'm just saying, there seems to be some aspersions being cast at Wayne Crawford and or Cardiff Canyon for paying taxes on property or hijacking notices.
That they don't own. So why would Salt Lake City go down to the county and pay taxes on this land and do the same sort of nefarious activity?
Okay.
We conduct our business with a higher standard.
Okay. So you would characterize paying property taxes for somebody else as a nefarious activity?
Yes, going down there, paying taxes for somebody else and saying, we are the company, when in fact they're not. And then basically taking the tax notice and have it sent to Wayne Crawford's personal home address.
So are you aware of any objection made on the part of Colonial One or its directors to Cardiff Canyon paying the taxes?
I'm not.
Do you know of any efforts that were even made on the part of the directors to ascertain why and where the tax notices are being sent?
I'm not.
I understand that the directors have been indemnified by Salt Lake City from any and all causes of action brought against them in this lawsuit. Is that a fair statement?
It's a fair statement.
Okay. And that would include the payment of legal costs to defend them?
That's correct.
What benefit, if any, are the directors being offered by Salt Lake City besides the indemnity in exchange?
Indemnity, we offered to, if they had to do work, to pay them, I think it was $200 an hour, but they've not requested any.
Any other benefit?
None.
If the property is in fact conveyed by quitclaim deed as contemplated by this Exhibit 13, have the directors indicated they'll keep any part of the proceeds?
They've absolutely said they will not keep any part of the proceeds. It's basically they will go through the proper process, either trying to find a shareholders, and if they don't find shareholders, then the property will go through the estate sheet process of the state.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm going to hand you what will be marked as Exhibit 19.
Different than the 19.
Yeah, you don't
I don't
it
have
in
it
there.
so.
Yeah. Take a moment to read this, please. Tell me when you're
Okay.
ready.
Yep.
Okay. Do you recognize this letter?
I don't.
Never seen it?
No.
Do you know who Ronnie Cutchell is?
He was an attorney that did some estate work for, I'm drawing a blank on it. Paul Scheller, I believe.
Okay. Do you understand him also to have been an attorney that worked with Walker Bank, later Interstate Bank? If you don't know, it's fine.
I don't.
Okay. Do you know who David Dangerfield is?
I don't.
Do you know who Narvel Hall is?
Other than it appears to be an attorney.
Okay. At the bottom, I know you haven't seen this letter, but Mr. Hall says, "We further assume, in the absence of information to the contrary from you or Mr. Dangerfield, that Colonia Mining Company and its patent mining claims have been intentionally abandoned by the shareholders, and that neither Wells Fargo, its predecessors, or their respective agents bear any ongoing responsibility to that company or its shareholders." He uses the word intentionally abandoned, and I'm sure I'll be asking Mr. Hall about this, but do you have any basis to confirm or deny that statement, that these claims have been intentionally abandoned?
No basis.
Do you have any basis to believe that the claims have been intentionally retained by the company?
I don't have any basis of one way or the other.
I'll hand you what will be marked as Exhibit 20 to your deposition. Ignore that part, that was my handwriting. You mentioned earlier a real estate purchase contract that was circulated related to SS Consulting, possibly JLC, possibly Josie Southam. You said you had seen that contract. I want you to tell me if this is the contract you're referring to.
Appears to, although you're missing addendums all the way up to 7.
Okay, I suppose I am. I haven't been privy to those. Do you have any knowledge of what addendums 2 through 7 reference?
They basically kind of rewrite the whole agreement, insert different parties through SS Consultant and Wasatch Canyons Foundation. Talks.
Turn with me to Bates number 154. This is the first page of addendum 1.
Okay.
I think it's worth noting that the parties listed, at least up to addendum 1, is SS Consulting LLC as buyer and Cardiff Canyon LLC as seller. Do you have any reason to believe that there are any other buyers or sellers involved in this transaction?
Yeah, there are those whole series of quitclaim deeds. There's all sorts of email from Dave Robinson saying that they are selling the property to Wasatch Canyons Foundation. There's a whole bunch of emails from Charles Livesey talking about it's being sold to Wasatch Canyons Foundation and that there's conservation easements potentially with Utah Open Lands. So it seems like they're conveying this property willy-nilly to anybody that happens to ask.
Okay. Look at paragraph 2 of this addendum 1. It reads, "Buyer shall arrange for the purchase price to be paid to seller or its assigns from the following sources." You have Wasatch Canyon Foundation, $200,000, Salt Lake County Open Space Fund, $140,000, and Salt Lake Public Utilities, $140,000. Interestingly, subsection 2C is your department.
Interesting that they never talked to us about it.
Yeah, and I'm just wondering if you could explain for me any conversations that you were a part of related to this $140,000 before or after the date of this addendum.
We saw it in there. We basically let Dave Robinson know that he's not authorized to speak on our behalf or offer anything. So I think what they were hoping is that they could somehow...
Who's they in that statement? You said they were hoping.
I think it was Dave Robinson, SS Consulting, Charles Livesey, Wasatch Canyon Foundations. They seemed to go back and forth, tag teaming the efforts. I know that they had committed Salt Lake County to $140,000. When I talked to Mayor McAdams, they said they clearly had not committed $140,000 to the effort. So you had Wayne Crawford just making stuff up.
Okay.
Excuse me, and Dave Robinson.
All right. What is your relationship with Dave Robinson?
Again, met with him a few times, but don't really have a relationship with him.
Did you meet with him only in regards to this lawsuit and this property?
No, Dave Robinson has inserted himself in the Great Western Mining. We've had a bunch of meetings, wanting us to do something different there. He's inserted himself into Big Ditch and just various other things.
Okay. Like what other things?
Just there was things of trying to acquire property in the Dunyon property, where he's trying to build a large condo project and do development exchanges out of other areas.
Has he been successful? I know that's a relative term, but successful in any of his proposals he's brought to you, whether it's with Big Ditch or you said Dunyon property, Great Western? Have any of his proposals gotten traction?
No.
All right. So why is Dave Robinson involved with this property?
That's a good question.
What is the relationship between Wasatch Canyon Foundation and Charles Livesey?
He's on their board, and much of the documents that come out of it, he seems to be preparing the writing. So,
is there an adversarial relationship between Salt Lake Public Utilities and Wasatch Canyon Foundation?
again, no relationship.
Are the goals of those two organizations at odds with each other at all?
To some degree, yes.
In what way?
Wasatch Canyons Foundation has the Wasatch Canyon Foundation, has goals to do a certain amount of development proposals that were not consistent with our view. They have land exchanges, or just inconsistent with how we do our business.
Okay. So it would not be satisfactory to the city if Wasatch Canyon Foundations ended up with title of this property?
No, because under all the proposals I've seen, there was no protection of this property.
You mentioned a conservation easement in talking about all the email flurry you saw back and forth with Charles Livesey. Can you explain in any greater detail what
They say that...
Let me finish, Liz. What the intent was and who propagated this idea?
Again, in the emails, there was Charles Livesey basically just saying it was their intent to try and work with Utah Open Lands to put a conservation easement on the property. But if you go back and read all the addendums and the real estate purchase agreement, it really did not protect the property. So it was an illusion at best.
Okay. Has Salt Lake County expressed any interest in this property that you're aware of?
Not that I'm aware of from Mayor McAdams.
Is there any arrangement on the part of Salt Lake City and Salt Lake County as to what will happen after the lawsuit's concluded if Salt Lake prevails?
No.
Now